now I work as an imam for a number of years, right? And I was explaining to some of my black associates when we talk about like marital issues, marital discord, we call them Arabic issues. I noticed that the black couples, even the Muslim community, marital problems are not the same marital problem of like immigrants, right? So I'll be in one community, we be like a multicultural community. So I told them when the immigrant woman, Muslim sister, come to me have marriage problems, she's asking me, for example, hey, can you talk to my husband? She don't want no divorce. Can you talk to my husband to do this and do that with our children and to do this, how to fix their problems? When it's the black woman, she's like, yo, how can I get a divorce Islamically for my husband? I'm like, what your husband do? Oh, he came late home from work. I'm like, that ain't no reason for divorce. So a lot of my companions, when I talk about them, about like if people come to me, I'm like, you know what? I said, the guy whose wife gave him the less headache, I said, doesn't mean that in his house there's no problems going on. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that there's no problems or disagreements in their house. But I said, when I look at those individuals who don't come out with it sometimes, or I go to their house and I visit them, and I know the spouse and the husband and the wife and the children, I find out that a lot of them, they are very closely related. So when they have issues in their community, right, the woman's maybe father is somewhat connected or related to her husband somewhere down the line. Mm. I believe cousins, second or third cousins, family members, or grew up in the same village. So the man would think twice to do her dirty because the woman, some form or fashion, is related to her.
Wow.
In the black community, we don't even want to marry our neighbors. Right. Somebody I grew up with, somebody went to school together with, somebody who our parents grew up, our parents or know each other. We don't want to do this in the black community anymore. Back in the days, we did it. Yeah. A lot of our grandparents in the black community are closely related, second or third cousins, or grew up in the same area. A lot of our even great grandparents were married at young ages.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. 13, 14 years old. See, black people, we got away from a lot of these things. Why? One, slavery, number one. Yeah. Number two, capitalism. The capitalism wants everybody out there working, men and women. Mm. Destroying a lot of things in the black family because capitalism and certain people in the American society, a lot of that feminism is really based on capitalism getting people out there in the workforce. So I look at my own grandparents, like on my father's side. My father's side of the family from North Carolina. My father's grandparents were two brothers who married two sisters from the same family. Two brothers who married two sisters from the same family. I look at my mother's side of the family, some way or form or fashion, distant cousins who grew up in the same area. Everybody has the same background, know each other. Mm-hmm. Today, we don't want to know each other. You have a lot of issues going on in the blacks in America, but people have to find out one day the white man way of doing things don't work for black people. Right. It don't work, man. Marital problems, relationships, raising children, and especially education, because in the public schools and education, that's where our people's getting brainwashed, and we're learning individualism and not collectivism, how to work together as a group. Mm-hmm. So that's another big issue on social media. You see a lot of individualism going on. We might say as people's following their egos, but Eurocentric individualism that Europeans themselves don't practice when it comes down to making money and separating and dividing. Beyond social media is just showing the symptoms of the black community. That's all we see. It's the symptoms that we have going on in the black community that's not being dealt with. Mm-hmm. And I'm 45 years old now. I got 3 kids. I'm getting old, and sometimes I sit and say, "Is it worth the fight? If it's really worth the fight, if it's worth the fight." So my next conclusion is that we're gonna have to start dealing with other people like us who think like us. Yeah, and then everybody else, you got to put that to the side.
I've been a big proponent, and I know a lot of people, will say, "Hey, we need to help all of our people." There's some people you can't help. Real talk. You can't help some people. They need to stay where they're at. And truth be told, I want them to stay where they're at because then they might come in and ruin what I got going on or what we as a collective have going on. You know what I mean? Not everybody needs to be in the tribe.
This goes back to me saying that you can't build with everybody. You can't save everybody. And you have to have some type of understanding. And just like he says, surround yourself with like-minded people because that's the only way things are going to work because some people are just too far gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I've been saying it a lot lately, and I just feel like everybody's been taking that pill, the red pill or the blue pill. It don't matter which one, but they're both swallowing that pill that's being given to them and not really using their minds to think beyond, you know, with their day-to-day clicker, watching the TV, watching the news, or going to work, getting in that rat race every day, right? So you get up, you go to work, you get the kids off, you go to school, you do this, you come home, cook dinner, go to bed, wrap it up, do it all over again the next day. And everybody gets caught up in that. And then they say, what are you doing on Saturday, Sunday? Cleaning the house, cooking, sitting around, relaxing. All these people that we have to be able to move collectively together to make something happen. We just need people to be more interested. You know,
it's not only about being involved, it's also about being consistent. Because sometimes we move off of emotions and we do things based off of emotions. Just like the George Floyd situation. Everybody wanted to join the movement then.
Yeah.
You know, whenever an officer kills an unarmed black man, everybody wants to do something then. Then after all that dies down on social media, on the news, everybody's silent and they go back to their regular scheduled program.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Consistency is the key.
Yeah.
That's 100% true. Consistency. You know, even in Islam, man, even in Islam, there's an Islamic teaching where it says that, you know, when you do worship, right, you know, any type of good deed, as long as it's a little bit and that it's consistent, consistency build up to being a lot, abundance, long term, right? So with the consistency in the black community, we don't have consistency. We don't even have accountability.
That's my biggest issue right now. Is accountability.
That's been my word for the past 2 weeks.
Man,
it's accountability. It is especially self-accountability.
On the last. Absolutely.
Code of ethics. We need to have what you call a code of ethics. Black people, we don't have we do have it in some sense, but we need to make it more clear and explicit codes of ethics. You know, in Islam, you know, I always tell a lot of my companions, you know, African Americans who are Muslim, my companions, I always tell them that, you know, after the death of Malcolm X in the US, we never really see anybody who continued the work of Malcolm X. Likewise, Martin Luther King Jr. After his death, we didn't see that many people continuing his work, right? So black people, we need to start having a code of ethics. Islam is very big on code of ethics. Most of all Islamic law and literature is about code of ethics, right? How you hold yourself, how you govern yourself, how your family structure is. You know, all these things are related. Family structure and government structure are the same structure, right? If I can't have a family structure, then you definitely won't have a government structure, right? So as Muslim, we understand the importance of ethics. We call them adab, right? Ethics. Black Americans, we need to have a deep code of ethics, of morals related to family structure, related to how to deal with each other when we're in disagreements.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is that we need to have a code of ethics. Then we need to learn to agree to disagree. And this is another big problem in the black community, that we could be together on black consciousness, but as soon as we disagree with each other on small issues, we stop talking to each other.
Right.
Think about it. U.S. government does not want black people able to compete with them or to replace them. Now we look at, for example, historically related to the Caribbean island and what happened when the slaves overthrew places like Haiti and Jamaica, right? When the slaves were outnumbered the white people, the Europeans, and the slaves did what? They end up killing, taking revenge, taking the wealth, so on and so forth, taking control. Right. Well, the government in the U.S. don't want that to happen here. They want to stay in power. They're not able to do anything right now. So the next talk will be, or the next thing will be, how do we change this? This is looking at the youth, the younger generation, community, schools, you know, I can't remember. I'm in New York City, right? From New York, the most liberal state, and after California. When it comes to black consciousness, you know, it's a lot of that in America. I could think about every aspect of black consciousness that I grew up with as a child that's still with me today, right? And in certain individuals. But when I look into the black communities, even the black conscious community or any black community right now, when the kids are going to school, they are getting taught Eurocentric ideas and learning about how big and glorified is the white man and stuff. For example, we would say, I remember in the 80s, my mom would tell me, yeah, Christopher Columbus didn't discover America, but when I go to school, I have to put it down on the test that he discovered.
Yep.
So the children look at, well, what the black people have to say is not important, is what the white man have to say on his test and exam, because that's going to determine how much money or successful I'm going to be in their system.
Yeah.
So that also impacts the psyche of the child as becoming an adult. I believe one thing at home, but in the workforce or in the workplace or outside, I have to believe and do something else.
Right.
We have to start changing these things. That's why it's important to focus on the youth, because now we need to have our own schools, our own curriculum.
That's what I was going to say, our own curriculum.
In order to have our own schools, we have to have the resources. And what I mean,
Another way,
go ahead.
I was thinking another way we could look at it or do it is that, okay, then we start having our own sessions in books in our home in the house.
Mhm.
What's not being taught in the school? I mean, we're going to have to look at every aspect of how are we going to change the condition of black people for the future in the United States. We have to start looking. How are we going to have to do? We need economics. We need an educational system. We need a medical system. You know, and we look at some of the diseases that our people have. Some of these diseases or illness could be prevented, right?
Right.
So we need to have like educational about everything that black people are going to deal with: health,
Mhm.
science, morals, family structure, you know, military, law enforcement, right? Because we want to govern ourselves, right?
Right.
So we have to start looking at what we need to do, what type of people we need, what type of resources we need to do these things, and look for those who are like each other. Because I see in the black community, a lot of people will turn around and say, "Hey, I agree with everything we're saying on this table right now," right?
Right.
But where do I start at?